There is a secret that is being withheld from you. There is a truth that archaeologists, anthropologists, and geneticists don't want you to know. What is this secret? What is this truth? I'll tell you. There have been race wars in the past so horrible that one of the races was completely exterminated. Who am I talking about? What is this race war? I'm talking about the Neanderthals and the Denisovans. You've heard about the Neanderthals. People think of them as cavemen. They were simple, brutish people. Well, here's the explosive truth. In the past, people thought of them as a separate species. There was the species of humans, Homo sapiens, and then there was a separate species, the Neanderthals. But here's what geneticists have discovered. They were not a separate species. They were a separate race. Just as we have races of black people, of Asians, and white people, there was also another race, the race of Neanderthals. And the reason they're a race and not a separate species is that they were able to interbreed with what we think of as humans. If they had been unable to interbreed, they would have been a separate species, but they were able to breed, and they did have children. Just as black people and white people can have children, just as Asian people and black people, or Asian people and white people can have children, Neanderthals could have children with modern humans, and therefore Neanderthals were a race. Now, what do we mean by race? It's very simple. Biologists normally would call them a subspecies. A subspecies is a group, a population that looks very different from the other populations. And quite simply, you can know a separate population because they look different. This is the scientific definition. If you can tell one apart from the other apart 75% of the time, that's a subspecies. In humans, we don't use the word subspecies, we use the word race instead. That's just due to historical reasons. If biologists were coming up with all the words today, they would not use the word race at all, they would just refer to them as subspecies, but the fact remains the same. And so we had these Neanderthals. They were humans. They were humans in a way just like you and me. And we know this because they had children with us. And there was something substandard about them. And what I mean by substandard is quite simply they couldn't compete. We don't know exactly why. In the past, people thought they were stupid and brutish. Maybe they were stupid and brutish. Now, the biologists are trying to walk this back because the biologists, the anthropologists, and the archaeologists know that the Neanderthals were a separate race. And today, it's not popular to say that some races are in some way better than the others, and so Neanderthals are no longer being described as stupid and brutish, because they're another race, just as blacks are another race. And so now people are trying to say that the Neanderthals were actually great artists, they were great tool makers, but we do know that in some way they were substandard and unable to compete. I don't know why, nobody really knows why. As I said in the past, they were thought to be just quite simply stupid. They were unable to make bows and arrows, and apparently their way of attacking was with spears, and this was just inadequate. Anyway, the biologists, the archaeologists, the anthropologists, the geneticists are trying to hide this fact, because what it shows is that in the past there have been these race wars that one race pretty much completely destroyed the other, completely replaced it. There were other races other than the Neanderthals. There were also the Denisovans. The Denisovans were able to interbreed with humans, meaning they were a separate race. Just as blacks are a separate race, just as Asians are a separate race, these Denisovans were a separate race, and now they're all gone. There was a little bit of interbreeding, and people in Asia carry some of the Denisovan DNA. They also carry some Neanderthal DNA. Humans in Europe can't carry Neanderthal DNA, but it's a very, very small amount, and it doesn't seem to be affecting anything that separated modern humans from the Neanderthals and the Denisovans. It's believed that most of that DNA gave an advantage against diseases. In other words, the Neanderthals had lived in Europe before modern humans. They had grown immune to the diseases there, and those are the genes that were passed on. Probably the genes for art ability, intellect, language ability were not passed on in modern humans. And the Denisovans, who may also very well have been these brutish individuals, also did not pass on their DNA. The reason this is so explosive, The reason this is so dangerous, and the reason that the biologists, anthropologists, and archaeologists don't want you to know this, is that these replacement race wars have taken place over and over again. And chances are they will happen again in the future. Chances are there will be future race wars between the races, and chances are some of them will be wiped out in the future. It's happened with the Neanderthals, it's happened with the Denisovans, it also happened with the people that are represented by Cheddar Man. He was unable to compete with modern humans because he wasn't able to farm. He didn't have the DNA for it. If he had eaten farmed food, he would have died from vitamin D deficiency. So, there is this truth out there that is being hidden.